to get your fix.
Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready to get your fix?
With the Wicks here on this beautiful Friday, April 22nd, 2022, and welcome to the show, whether that be on Facebook or on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, do me a favor, hit the like and the share. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe. It'd be much, much appreciated. So yesterday, we had the ability, or we had the right to talk about 6 current and former NFL players making the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame. We also dived into a little bit of what Deebo Samuel might want to do, and that being his future. Where does he want to play in the upcoming seasons? Is that where he's from, South Carolina? Does he want to go back home and play for the Carolina Panthers? They could use a receiver. They got DJ Moore. Robbie Anderson's over there. Okay. And I believe they have one more guy. Can't remember him off the top of my head. I think they just got him. But they have a couple receivers. They could use another one. Or, some interesting news just broke today that the Giants are considering trading a certain wide receiver. We'll get to that briefly, probably towards the end of the show. And another wide receiver around the National Football League is making the transition to tight end. We've seen this in the past with, Darren Waller, who was once drafted by the Baltimore Ravens as a wide receiver, didn't quite work out, ends up going to the Las Vegas Raiders as a tight end, and top 3 tight end in the National Football League, potentially top 5, depending on who you kind of rank there. You obviously got George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Darren Waller. The list is there for the superstar tight ends, but there's a wide receiver making the transition. Who is that? Well, we'll find out in just a couple minutes. We also have a certain safety who has, been a 7-time Pro Bowler, saying, hey, I would like to resume my career in the National Football League. Some things went south just, I think, was last year or 2 years ago for him. Does that mean a comeback is possible? Well, I'd say yeah, because his resume, pretty good one, if I had to say so myself. Also, Tom Brady had his contract restructured, clearing up a pretty decent amount of cap space for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just days ahead of the 2022 NFL Draft. I believe we are 6 days away. The draft is next Thursday, April 28th, and I'm pumped for it. We get to see dreams come true, tears get shed, and, draft night, anything can fucking happen. Literally anything can happen, and it's just a great time. We will be having a draft special or a show where me and the boys will sit down and we'll kind of dive into what we think is going to work out, or who's going number 1, who's going number 2, and then we'll talk about who actually gets selected at those picks briefly, kind of give you our thoughts and stuff like that. We actually started going live for the first time during last year's draft, so we've almost been live for a whole year now, and it's been a glorious run, and only more to come in the future. We're only getting better, we're growing, we're having fun doing it. Also, the Steelers, massive news out of the Steelers organization. They're bringing back a familiar face, a safety who's been their starter for 4 years, has only missed a total of 4 out of the 64 games. So that is a huge news. So we have all that to dive into today. Our guest host here, Y4, is just, he's unavailable at the time. Thought he was going to get back sooner than he actually is, and hey, that's all right. We're still doing the show with or without him. So are you ready to get your fix? So we talked about a wide receiver making the transition to tight end. Who is that? Well, this guy's a former second-round draft pick by the Philadelphia Eagles, still on their organization, I believe. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside has said, well, wide receiver just isn't working out for me. I'm not getting the targets I deserve. I'm just not the greatest. I'm not the quickest. I'm not the biggest. But, hey, tight end looks like it might be a real possibility for me. So J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's making the transition to tight end. Hopefully it works out for him because coming into the draft, or when he was drafted, there was a lot of upside. We thought this guy was going to be the next dude. I mean, we're like, okay, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside instantly is going to be a game changer, help the Philadelphia Eagles potentially go on a Super Bowl run here in at least the next couple years. What's actually going to be, what are we actually going to see from him? Well, we didn't see shit. Absolutely nothing came of it. As the years went on, the targets decreased. The production, well, because the targets decreased, the production decreased. Everything just was not looking good for JJ at all. So he says, well, let's make a change. Let's see if tight end suits us a little bit better. And who knows, it's a very real possibility that that just happens to be the case. We've seen it with Darren Waller. I briefly brought up him, who was drafted as a wide receiver by the Baltimore Ravens. Didn't work out. Okay, he was supposed to be the next big thing. And ultimately, it just didn't happen. So he made the transition to tight end, and well, look where he's at now. Okay, getting paid massive amounts of money. He's an instant game changer for the Raiders. And now he's on a Raiders team who has the likes of Devontae Adams, Chandler Jones, Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs. It's not the greatest offense in the world. It's not the greatest defense in the world, but it's a team that looks like they can go on a run. And the Raiders can. Okay, they made the playoffs last year. Just didn't happen to work out the way they hoped it would work out. I mean, they met up against the Cincinnati Bengals, who later on went to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Los Angeles Rams, but the Raiders are a good organization. But JJ making this transition to tight end, ultimately, I think, hopefully will revamp his career, give him a little bit more, or give him that twinkle back in his eye, like this is what I love to do. Because if it doesn't, he's going to need a plan B. And who knows what that plan B is? Because, well, I actually plan C, because tight end's plan B. I mean, is he going to change over the defensive side? Maybe he wants to be a linebacker. Probably not big enough. But maybe he wants to be a safety, a corner. Maybe he can make the transition. He's been in the NFL game. He knows what to look for. He knows what to do when the time is right. He's obviously a better athlete than a lot of these players that have ever tried to make the NFL. It just happened to be that he wasn't that good at the position, but he was good enough to stay on an NFL roster. Hopefully the tight end transition works out nicely for him, but only time will tell. So a 7-time Pro Bowl safety who played on the Legion of Boom. I also believe he played with the Baltimore Ravens. And he also played... Oh, did he play? I think he played... No, he didn't play for the Chiefs. But he played for the Legion of Boom. That is where he's most known. Or where he's most known to play for. Earl Thomas has said, well, hey, I want to resume my career. This is a tweet per Adam Schefter. He says, former 7-time Pro Bowl safety Earl Thomas, who last played for Baltimore in 2019, so, well, 3 years ago, and who turns 33 in just a month, said today that he wants to resume his NFL career this season. He says, I'm ready, Thomas said. Or Thomas texted, excuse me. So, hey, got the inside source right there. He says, I'm in shape. My timing is on point, and I'm proud of that. There's a little gap there, so who knows what else was said during the whole thing, but Adam Schefter didn't think it was necessary to put in that tweet. If Earl Thomas thinks he can go, I believe him 100%, because we've seen what he's been able to do his entire career. This man has 30 interceptions. He's a 7-time Pro Bowler. He's won a Super Bowl, 2 touchdowns off of those interceptions, 71 pass deflections, 12 forced fumbles, in which he returned one of those for a touchdown. He has only 2 sacks in his career, but he's not known to be a Jamal Adams type safety where he's going to be blitzing like a linebacker coming off the edge and causing chaos in that backfield. That's just not what he's been known for. He's been known for his defense in the secondary, his zone defense, his man coverage. That's what he's been known for. He's also had a combined 713 tackles in his career. Earl Thomas, if he gets going, if he gets hot, he's at the top of the league for safeties. Very, very good help in the secondary for any team that could possibly need some. Minnesota Vikings, hey, we need some help because I'd assume Earl Thomas wouldn't take a huge salary so that make it so that we have like no salary cap. I'm trying to word that and my brain wasn't working right there for a second. But I'm assuming he wouldn't be expensive to get. Out of the league for 3 years, he had some off-field issues that kind of stopped him from going forward and still playing in the NFL. He had to get all those figured out. And now I think it's at the time where he's like, I don't want to retire right now. I still have some things left to prove. I can still play at a high level. There's teams around the National Football League that would love to have a game-changing safety, and that's where Earl Thomas is, a game-changing safety. 30 interceptions in his NFL career. I mean, that is just top-notch. Okay, who knows what else he has left in the tank. He does say he's in shape. He says his timing's on point, and who knows? His timing could be on point when he's practicing, when he's getting ready to rock and roll, staying in shape for whatever team wants to or decides to call him. But until you get into the game, until you start playing that game, you really don't know if his timing's on point. You really don't know if he's in shape. Is he in game shape or is he just in, regular human being shape? Like, is he running a treadmill 10 times a day or 10 miles a day or, does all his cardio workout? Yeah, I'm in shape. I'm in the best shape of my life. All right, well, buddy, let's see what happens on the game field. All right, let's see what happens when the game clock starts ticking down. All right, then we'll really know if you're in shape. I would just believe him because of what he's been able to do in the past. He's an instant game changer, and I hope he gets a chance. I think he will, especially if teams need safeties, which there's a lot of them, okay, that would love Earl Thomas on their team. Do the teams want to take a chance, though? With his off-field issues, I'm sure those have been solved because we haven't heard about Earl Thomas for quite a while. Actually, 3 years since his off-field issues really broke the internet for a brief time there. But Earl Thomas, he says, hey, I want back in. I'm not done. I'm not going to retire. Still got some more left in the tank. So let's use it up. Let's go to E, and then maybe I'll ride off into the sunset. So whatever team out there wants to take a shot at Earl Thomas, go for it. But one team that won't take that shot, because they got Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they just locked up their 4-year starter at safety, or one of their safety positions. The Pittsburgh Steelers are bringing back safety Terrell Edmunds. Huge signing, in my opinion. He's only missed 4 games. He's played 60 out of 64 starts that he possibly could have had. The dude is pretty solid. I do like this signing for Pittsburgh because, when you go, I think we've talked about it quite a while. Chemistry. Chemistry is huge in the National Football League. So not only does he have the chemistry with Minkah Fitzpatrick on the other side, with all the other safeties or corners like Joe Hayden and who's their linebackers at this point in time. But chemistry is huge. Not only chemistry, but knowing the playbook and not changing schemes, not changing playbooks, that's also huge. And when you miss only 4 games, that means you're healthy. You always stay healthy. You're consistent at what you do. This man has been an absolute ball hawk, a maniac on the football field. The Steelers bring him back on a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. I think not only myself, but Pittsburgh fans will probably be pretty excited about this because he's just entering the prime of his career. Maybe not even quite entering the prime of his career. Who knows what he has left in front of him. But what I do know, he's a game changer. We've talked about the game changers quite a bit here the last couple, minutes. He's had 5 total interceptions. Okay, so he's not really going to go up and be a ball hawk by any means, but he's had 21 pass deflections. That's compared to 71 pass deflections of Earl Thomas, who's played quite a bit in the National Football League. He's had one forced fumble, or one fumble recovery, 3 sacks, and 340 tackles combined. Okay, he may not be the greatest safety in the world, but he's a good safety. And when you lock up Minkah Fitzpatrick with his massive deal, you have TJ Watt on one of your ends, Cameron Hayward, you get it, that defense is back, baby. They're ready to rock and roll. They're ready to make a playoff push. The Steelers lock up Terrell Edmonds, and I think it's a good one. I hope they did their due diligence on, is he healthy? Is he ready to rock and roll? Because stats say he will be ready to rock and roll and healthy. Moving on to last but not least, not much to talk about today, but a decent amount. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady have decided to restructure his contract for the 2022 season. They did so because, well, it created over $9 million in cap space. That is huge, especially being only 6 days away from the NFL draft. Tampa Bay has to sign their draft picks, especially if they think they're worth a damn. Okay, a lot of these draft picks will be bust. It's just how it is. First round draft pick, I think like 50% or something like that, or just 60% of them will be bust. They just won't work out. They'll maybe have a short career. I think the average career span, the career span for an NFL player, I think is like 3 years or something like that. So it's not long at all. We're too focused on these guys that have played 20 years in the league, like Tom Brady, like an Aaron Rodgers and Ben Roethlisberger, where we don't understand that there's guys out there that play for a year and that's it, play for 2 years and that's it, and then they end up in the XFL, the AAF, the USFL, and we're never heard of from again. But the draft is 6 days away. They needed to clear some cap because they have some voids at some positions that they would like to, well, add, I guess, to their depth chart, maybe their practice squad. They brought back massive amounts of players. I mean, they brought back Ryan Jensen, their center. They still got Tom Brady, who unretired. Bruce Arians gave the head coaching job to Todd Bowles, so we have a new head coach in the building. Chris Godwin's back in the building. Mike Evans is back. Leonard Fournette is back. I mean, this offense, ready to rock and roll. That defense with Levante David, Devin White, Antoine Winfield Jr. I mean, they do got to figure out their corner situation. Maybe they trade up and try to grab Ahmad Sauce Gardner. Maybe they trade up and try to grab Derek Stingley Jr. before the Minnesota fucking Vikings do, because that is what we need. We need a safety, and if we don't get not a safety, we need a corner. Okay? If we don't get a corner, let's go get Earl Thomas and help us on the backside of things. That'd be fucking legit, but I'd still want Tyrann Mathieu on my football team if all possible, please and thank you. That'd just be electrifying. With also doing so, we all have to remember that Tom Brady is going to be a free agent at the end of this season. Does that mean he's going to retire? Probably. That's why I'm going to go see him in Tampa Bay at least one time this season. I've never seen him play in person, so doing so would be absolutely phenomenal. I mean, he's my boy. Okay, always has been. I will always be a Tom Brady fan. But he's going to be a free agent. If he retires, that's it. Okay, obviously, instant Hall of Famer, probably unanimous Hall of Famer. Doesn't even need to get voted into the Hall of Fame. They already have his bust made, more than likely. It's already probably in Canton in the back closet, just waiting out there, collecting dust a little bit until he's actually going to retire, because the man's been at this for, 22 years up to this point? I mean, jeez Louise, at the top of the mountain. I mean, the guy, 7 Super Bowl rings, looking for his 8th one. Let's do our due diligence. Let's get some good fucking draft picks and send him to the Super Bowl if my Vikes, which probably won't happen, don't make it themselves. But if he does decide to stay a free agent, where does he want to go? Because there's been talks about him potentially owning a part of the Miami Dolphins and being the quarterback over there. even though Mike McDaniel has said time and time again, who is the Miami Dolphins head coach, hey, Tua's our guy. We're going to focus on Tua being our guy. I trust, I believe in him, and I think this team believes in him as well. Brian Flores didn't believe in him. I mean, Brian Flores took him out mid-game sometimes to put Ryan Fitzpatrick in 2 years ago, and then last year he had Jacoby Brissett go in a couple times, and I was like, I'm not really sure. Like, Tua has these good moments, but when he has the bad moments, they're really fucking bad, so we got to get him out of the field, and because he might not be the guy, but then we got to put him back in there because we realize Jacoby Brissett is not the guy, okay? He's a backup. That's just plain and simple, and that's why Jacoby Brissett is now a Cleveland Brown, and he's the backup for Deshaun Watson. Baker Mayfield's potentially on the move. Maybe he goes to Carolina. Maybe Debo joins him in Carolina, which, speaking of Debo, we talked about him requesting a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. Well, yesterday we also dove into the fact that he might just want to go play closer to home. Well, a couple hours or probably an hour or two ago, scrolled through the old Instagram and Twitter, you find out that the Giants are willing to trade former or 2021 first-round draft pick wide receiver Kadarius Toney. Why is that a possibility? Why is that the case? Maybe it's because he gets kind of heated on the field, kind of throws his tantrums because he believes he's one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League, which he might be. Okay, we've only got to see a little bit of what he's able to do, but when he was playing, he was dangerous. Does Debo go play for the New York Giants? Do the San Francisco 49ers look at the Giants' situation and go, you want to get rid of Toney? Okay. All right. Well, tell you what. We'll give you Debo. But you got to give us Kadarius Toney. You got to give us one of your first-round draft picks. Then you got to give us the third-round draft pick. All right? And then you got to pick up his contract. And then you're going to sign his contract extension because we're not giving him it. We'll give it to him when we believe we want to give it to him. Okay? And that's just not what we want to do right now. And he wants to be traded. So why not? What's a better fit than giving him to an organization that has, well, since Eli Manning, sucked ass for the past 10 years or whatever the case has been. Perfect fit. But also we have to keep in mind that the Giants, once the offseason began, said, hey, we're open to trading anybody. That includes Saquon fucking Barkley. That includes Daniel fucking Jones. Okay, that includes every single man on our roster. If there's a trade available and it's at the right price, at the right time, we'll get her done. Okay? We have a whole new regime change, new head coach in, Brian Dable. They got a new GM, can't remember his name off the top of my head. Ownership still the fucking same. They got to figure out that probably. They got to get a new stadium too. Okay, I'm sick of the Jets and the Giants sharing MetLife Stadium. I mean, they don't even play in New York. Okay, they're technically from New Jersey, so they're New Jersey Giants and the New Jersey Jets, not the New York Giants or the Jets. Just it is what it is. But the branding needs to be fixed probably a little bit. New stadium would be awesome. Maybe Debo goes plays for the Giants, who probably have enough money to sign him to a massive contract extension, who think, hey, it's been a while since we had an OBJ on our team. We need to figure out something. And they might have figured it out with Debo. Debo is an instant game changer. The way he not only plays the wide receiver position out wide, in the slot, tight, but also as a running back. Okay? We talked about it just the other day where, well, he has massive amounts of carries at each position. Specifically, 116 in the backfield, 23 of those were in his first 2 years, 239 in the slot, 591 out wide, and 16 kick returns. He had one in the first 2 years. Man's an instant game changer, led the San Francisco 49ers probably single-handedly to the NFC Championship game. Didn't win it, but how is one man going to beat an army? The Los Angeles Rams, okay? Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, OBJ, Cam Akers towards the end of that. Good fucking luck, okay? Debo can't get it done by himself, especially with those guys. Who's the other one? Leonard Floyd. I mean, they got dudes on that Rams offense. Debo Samuel, this whole Debo Samuel situation is really interesting because you'd think he'd want to stay, right? Just after having the whole last season happen, and then when he loses the NFC Championship game, and there's him just kind of like sitting there with the fucking towel over his head. I don't have anything to put over my head, but with that towel over his head and just kind of like how Diggs was when he lost the AFC Championship game just 2 years ago against Kansas City Chiefs, and stood on the field, his hands on his hip, and was just looking, and then he had posted that on Instagram, I'll be back here. I'll be back here. Well, he wasn't. Sorry about it, but you weren't. Saw the cookie crumbles, okay? Sorry about it. But you'd think he'd want to stay just to get another chance, another opportunity. But when money's involved, things can change, especially when you think you're worth more than you're being paid. And Debo Samuel is worth more than he's being paid. He's probably worth more than what the San Francisco 49ers want to offer him on a contract extension. And Debo's saying, well, you don't want to pay me my money because you want to do it on your terms? Okay. Well, how about this? I want to do it on my terms. I want traded. I want to be traded. Get me out of the building. Okay? You don't want to pay me? I don't want to be a Niner. Plain and simple. You either give me my money or you get me out of town. Much rather be close to home anyways. Even though that's probably not how it went down, but the logic behind that is probably pretty real. Just like A.J. Brown. Okay? I mean, his whole situation with him deleting Tennessee out of his Twitter bio. It's very, very interesting, this wide receiver market, especially because this offseason has been absolutely bonkers. Wide receivers have been getting paid a hell of a lot of money. Tyreek Hill got paid, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, Christian Kirk, DJ Moore. I mean, these receivers are getting big paydays, and when these young guys on the last year of the rookie contract kind of look at that and see that, and their production has been there, they've been a game changer, they've stayed healthy, they've led their team to an NFC Championship game, or in A.J. Brown's situation, they helped get the number 1 seed because Derrick Henry was injured all last year, basically. Give me my money, is what they're saying, okay? I want my money too. I'm better than Christian Kirk. I bet a lot of these receivers are better than Christian Kirk, and the fact that he got that contract, which it is taxed immensely. I'm not sure how that all works out, but it is taxed because he's going to Jacksonville. I don't know any of the ins and outs of why it's taxed, but Debo's better than Christian Kirk. Debo, I think, is arguably better than DJ Moore. A.J. Brown, better than Christian Kirk, arguably better than DJ Moore, probably deserve the same type of money or more than what Christian Kirk and DJ Moore got paid. Not sure you're going to pay him that Devontae Adams type money because, well, Devontae Adams, number 1 receiver in the National Football League, in my opinion. And I hope in a lot of other people's opinion as well, because you can literally, he's like a smaller Megatron out there. You can throw him the ball in any situation, however many people are covering him, and he's more than likely going to come down with the ball. Not going to look as flashy as Megatron did, because Megatron was obviously, well, Megatron. I mean, he was big as shit, and he went up and got the ball, and he made defenders look silly. I mean, they had 3 people trying to guard him at one time. He could try to do that with Devontae Adams, and I guarantee you his footwork is going to put at least 2 of those guys on skates. So, with this wide receiver market kind of blowing up a little bit with the money that the amount of money that's being paid to him, it's like, okay, well, what has he done for me lately? This is a business, right, where it's like, now what have you done for me in the past? What have you done for me lately? Well, Debo Samuel can look at his resume and be like, well, remember when we had no running backs just a year ago, and I had to take over that role? Weird. You remember when we, really didn't have that good of wide receivers other than George Kittle, and I kind of had to take over that role? Okay, weird. Remember when we didn't have a kick returner because we just thought that I was the best option? Weird. I want my money, and I want it now. A.J. Brown, same situation. He needs to get paid. He was massively better than Julio Jones last year on that Tennessee Titans organization. He had to do it all because Derrick Henry was injured. So with that being said, this whole Debo situation, it'll come out sooner or later whether he's going to stay a 49er if they decide to give him a massive payday or if he's on the move. Where is that? Is it Carolina? Is it Pittsburgh? Is it New York Giants? Is it the New England Patriots? Is it the Green Bay Packers, Detroit Lions, Kansas City Chiefs? Every single NFL team. Is it one of those? Is A.J. Brown potentially on the move? What about Kyler Murray? Kadarius Toney? More moves are going to be made. Massive moves will be made. There's still free agents on the market like a Tyrann Mathieu, like a Jarvis Landry, like an OBJ, a Julio Jones, like an Eric Fisher. Where do these guys end up? Well, I'm sure it'll come out sooner rather than later. And with that being said, have a great rest of your day and weekend, actually. It is a Friday. It's a glorious Friday. It was a little rainy outside, but hey, weather's looking promising hopefully the next couple of days. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe out there. Do whatever the hell you got to do. Have fun doing it. And, well, we'll be back here Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time, like always. And you just got your fix with a Wicks. Deuces, folks, and have a great one.